Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. So today we were going to look at this wonderful verse which is come from the 3rd canto, 9th chapter, and it's the 11th verse, which is prayers. It's from the Brahmaji's prayer, right? And Brahmaji is praying for the creative energy because he's doing the secondary expansion. So he's seeking for the blessings from Krishna. The verse is like this. Tvam bhakti yoga paribhavitarat saroja. Tvam bhakti yoga paribhavitarat saroja. Ase shrute sripatho nanunatha pumsa.
Ase shrute sripatho nanunatha pumsa.
Yadyadhyata urugaya vibhavayanti.
Yadyadhyata urugaya vibhavayanti.
Tattvapu pranayase sad anugrahaya.
Tattvapu pranayase sad anugrahaya.
So the translation, O my Lord, your devotee Godhead. This state of prema is achieved by the gradual process of development of faith to love. On faith, one associated with the bona fide devotee, and by such association, one can become engaged in a bona fide devotional service, which includes proper initiation and the execution of primary devotional duties prescribed in the revealed scriptures. This is clearly indicated herein by the word Shrutekshita. The Shrutekshita path is to hear from bona fide devotees who are conversant with Vedic wisdom, free from mundane sentiment. By this bona fide hearing process, the neophyte devotee becomes clean of all material rubbish, and thus he becomes attached to the one of the many transcendental forms of the Lord as described in Vedas. This attachment of devotee to a particular form of the Lord is due to the natural incarnation. Each and every living entity is originally attached to a particular type of transcendental service because he is eternally the servitor of the Lord. Lord Chaitanya says that the living entity is eternally a servitor of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna. Therefore, every living entity has a particular type of service relationship with the Lord eternally. This particular attachment is evoked by practice of regular devotional service to the Lord, and thus the devotee becomes attached to eternal form of the Lord, exactly like one who is already eternally attached. Last part. The attachment of a particular form of the Lord is called a Swarupa Siddhi. The Lord sits on the lotus heart of the devotee in the eternal form the pure devotee desires. And thus Lord does not part from the devotee as confirmed in the previous verse. The Lord, however, does not disclose himself to a casual or unauthentic worshipper to be exploited. This confirmed in Bhagavad Gita, Naham Prakasa Sarvasya Yogamaya Samavrita. Rather, by Yogamaya, the Lord remains concealed to the non-devotee or a casual devotee who are serving to the sense gratification. The Lord is never visible to the pseudo-devotee who worship the demigods in charge of universal affairs. The conclusion is that Lord cannot become an order supplier of a pseudo-devotee, but He is always prepared to respond to the desire of your unconditional devotee, who is free from all tinge of material infection. Srila Prabhupada ki. Okay, so the class, probably what we're going to do is that some of the points which I highlighted in my purport, we'll try to go through those points, and also we'll try to discuss some of the related verses which are almost resonate with this verse. So let's deep dive into it. Here, as I described, this prayer is from the Brahma's third canto, where Brahmaji is praying, right? And here, Brahmaji is again asking for the creative energy. Why here again? Because in this same prayer, there's a 23rd verse where Krishna is explaining or telling Brahmaji that it's already been given to you, but I'm again bestowing this this power that you can do the expand the creation. Also in this prayer, Krishna called Brahmaji as Veda Garbha, right? One who is very much deep into the Vedic wisdom, right? And we are part of Brahma Madhava Gaudiya Sampradaya, right? So Brahmaji is very important to all of us, and his prayer has a lot of good teachings, right? So let's deep dive into this particular verse and see what Brahmaji is trying to explain us. So there are three main points which Brahmaji is making in this prayer. The first one, which is a power of hearing. This is one of the very important verse, right? If you Google it, a power of hearing, this first verse will come up always. You know, so it's a very important verse, at least from or Sampradaya point of view. And the second thing, which is given in this verse, is the Krishna's mercy, right? When Brahmaji did this and Krishna appeared, then Brahmaji is telling that, "Oh Krishna, by your causeless mercy, you are appearing in front of your devotee by whichever form they desires," right? So second important point in this verse is the Krishna's mercy. And third point, which Prabhupada also mentioned in the purport, is the natural inclinations, right? The tendency of a devotee, right, to serve Krishna. That's a natural inclinations towards the devotion. That is also very important, right? Now we're going to segregate, and then we're going to talk about this point further. So here, one of the point which is mentioned at the end in this verse is Shrutekshita, right? Shrutekshita means that Krishna can be heard through ear, right? Or Krishna can be seen through ears, right? So why Krishna can be seen through ears? Why? Because Krishna is absolute, right? One of the greatest qualities of Krishna is that he is absolute in nature. That is the perfect monopoly of Krishna. No one else can claim to be absolute, right? For human being, right, we cannot eat, we cannot see through our mouth, right? We cannot smell through our ears, right? Because our each senses can do only one function. Whereas Krishna, right, he is absolute in nature, right? Whenever we offer something to Gaunitai, by even Gaunitai looking at it, he accepts, right? That is the monopoly of Krishna. So that is one of the important points Prabhupada is explaining, that Krishna is absolute in nature. That's why even by hearing, we can realize Krishna. Another thing, which is that Krishna is seen through the ears, right? Brahmaji is telling that by hearing you can realize Krishna. And what type of hearing? Is it an ordinary hearing? No. Prabhupada explained in a purport, probably Prabhupada used the word bona fide probably 5 times. In a translation he used once, also in a purport he used 4 more times the word bona fide. Because he's emphasizing on the word bona fide. And if you read Prabhupada's book, so many times, there's a book, right? Bona fide question, bona fide answer. So every time, wherever you read any book, Prabhupada keep emphasizing on the word bona fide, because he would like us to make a point that we have to engage ourselves into the bona fide hearing and a bona fide process. Until unless one does not engage in a bona fide process, they would feel cheated, right? Prabhupada many times gives the example that you want to buy a gold, right? Gold should be hallmarked, right? It is certified. So if it is a bona fide here, then it will open up our heart to Krishna. And seeing Krishna and bona fide hearing of Krishna, there is no difference. If we chant Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. So whenever you're chanting this, right, with your tongue, Prabhupada says that whenever you chant with your tongue and hear attentively, it is as good as meeting Krishna. Right now you all have met Krishna. By just paying attention to the word we chanted and hearing them carefully, you get the benefit of meeting Krishna. Right? So therefore, hearing is one of the very important things. And whom we should hear from, right? Prabhupada also in purport mentioned two words. One is the bona fide and one is a pseudo devotee, right? So Prabhupada insists that we should hear from bona fide devotee. So who is the bona fide devotee, right? Devotee, someone questioned that who is the bona fide devotee. Prabhupada pointed out two main important things, right? Bona fide devotee, first thing he mentioned that they are the Vedagarbha. Vedagarbha means they are the very well versed into the Vedic wisdom, right? They don't pick the ideas from the atmosphere, right here, somewhere thin air, and then start talking about it, right? Those who are working in a science and also in a technical background, we always talk about reference, right? That anything what we quote in our papers, journals, or technical papers, there should be a reference. What is the basis of we are speaking? So bona fide devotee, they always speaks through from the reference. All the Vani is very much grounded into the scriptures, right? I was in college days where went to many of the sampradaya, and one fine day I ended up in ISKCON center, and where my Guru Maharaj was giving a class. In all sampradaya I learned that one should be a vegetarian, but I have no firm basis or understanding that why one should be vegetarian. And the first day I was entering into class, and there was a Bhagavad Gita class, and my Guru Maharaj took up the word 926, right? Patram Pushpam Phalam Tuyam. Where Krishna, if you read the purport of the Bhagavad Gita, where it says that one has to, Krishna only asks for Patram Pushpam Phalam Tuyam. So that is only to be offered, nothing else, right? Anything else is not acceptable to Krishna, right? That's why one should be vegetarian, because devotee can accept only what has been offered to Krishna, right? So a devotee or a bona fide devotee, right, always speak from the scriptures, and they have a firm reference to the scriptures. And also, one important thing about the bona fide devotee is that whatever they speak and whatever they act, there is no difference between them, right? Whatever they're speaking and their actions, they both align very well with each other. Second important point, which Prabhupada mentioned in the purport, is that the bona fide devotee don't act on the sentiments, right? Many times a newer devotee, then right there comes the euphoria, right? So they comes high, go low. Sometimes they act under the sentiments that it is like this, it is like that, and someone have said this, they were going to do that. But the bona fide devotee don't act on the basis of sentiments, right? That they very much act and also deliver and conduct themselves around in the circle of devotee on the basis of shastra, right? We say sadhu shastra. And what they do is that they always see good in others, right? Devotee does not deal with other devotee on the basis of prejudice or some kind of preconceived understanding about the devotee. They always see goods in others because they have understood the eternal nature of Krishna, which is absolute, right? Because they see the Krishna in every devotee, right? They see every devotee, in every living entity, they see the Krishna in their hand. Also, one of the litmus tests for a bona fide devotee is that whenever you are around a bona fide devotee, you feel enthusiastic, right? You feel inspired, you feel peaceful, right? Many of the devotees, those who are engaged into the personal service of a devotee, their Shiksha Guru or their Guru Maharaj, whenever you see that, whenever they come, right, you will get a boost in your bhakti, right? You get a boost in your bhakti, you feel very energetic, you feel enthusiastic whenever you are associated with the pure devotee. That is also one of the quality of the bona fide devotee. Now, if you do not associate with bona fide devotee, then you associate with a pseudo devotee. And Prabhupada multiple times mentioned the pseudo devotee. And what are the characteristics of the pseudo devotee? Let's look into it, right? A pseudo devotee, right? They present to be a devotee. They show, they do very nice soy business. They have a nice dhoti, tilak, everything, right? They do soy business, but they know what's going on in their heart, right? They pretend to be sincere and they lack depth of devotion, right? When you are around them, definitely you feel agitated. Sometimes some of the devotee you don't want to be close, you don't want to be around. And Prabhupada mentions at the end of the purport that you should avoid association of pseudo devotee, right? Why? Because we are not acharyas, right? Our level of purity is not as Prabhupada. Prabhupada and the senior Vaishnavas, all the sannyasis, even they associate with anyone, right? They can transform into their good devotee. But our purity is not that much. So that's why Prabhupada says that be careful, be careful whom you associate with, right? So in the beginning stage of bhakti, one should be very careful and caution whom we associate it with. In our Gujarati, we said that Jeno sang tevo rang, So whoever means whoever you associate with, that quality you will going to pick up, right? So it is better to be associated with a sincere, nice devotee rather than a pseudo devotee. And these are the qualities, some of the qualities of the devotee. One of the important point which is explained in this verse or reaffirmed in this verse is that the foundation of the bhakti, which is Sravanam, right? Because this whole verse is glorifying Sravanam, right? One of the very close or very important verse in Srimad Bhagavatam, which also explain very beginning of the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is 1.1.2, where Prabhupada explained the importance of Sravanam. Right? If we think about it, hearing is someone thinks that in a process of bhakti, hearing is just a one phase of their devotional service, but actually it is not like that, right? Hearing is very much in the foundation of the whole process of bhakti, right? It's even in Namda Bhakti, it starts with Shravana, right? And many times, some people speculate that I start with hearing, and then suddenly, after some time, after a few years later, I will enter into some integrate part of the bhakti, right? Something very different. But actually, it is not like that. Prabhupada once, there was a very famous interview of Srila Prabhupada, where Srila Prabhupada was sitting and there was a girl approached Srila Prabhupada, a devotee. She approached Prabhupada and she asked Prabhupada, I'm chanting right now, when I'll go back to Golok Vrindavan, what will going to happen, right? Or is it something really different? Prabhupada said, you go there and you again chant and then hear, right? So there is no something complex process is there. It's very simple. Srila Prabhupada said it's very simple. It's only by hearing, right? So if we hear attentively, if we hear carefully, right? We have a lot of this japa sessions, where they make you hear or chant for so many rounds, because once a devotee developed a taste for hearing, right? They gradually develop the taste for bhakti, right? If we don't attentively hear and if we don't pay attention to hearing, then what would happen? The bhakti becomes like a boredom, right? Then it becomes a baggage. Then waking up early for Mangala and doing the 16 round chanting, it becomes a very difficult. Right? My Guru Maharaj many times says that if you feel boredom, it means that you are not hearing properly. If one hear properly and develop the taste of Krishna, then the bhakti will not going to become a boredom for them, right? And in the same verse, Prabhupada explained in the very beginning how to hear, right? If we read the purport, which says that the proper method of receiving the transcendental message is to hear submissively, right? A challenging attitude cannot help one realize the transcendental message. What does it mean? That one has to hear submissively, in a humble mood of mind, right? If we read the Sistashtakam, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, we should be humble than a grass of a blade, right? That should be our mood. And in that mood, if we chant and hear properly, that is the correct process. Or that's how one should engage themselves in a hearing. After that, there is a one more important word which Prabhupada quotes in the purport, which is a sushrusha. And if you read to the word-to-word translation of this purport, sushrusha means that the process of Prabhupada translated as a culture, right? My Guru Maharaj used to say that we have to develop our daily routine in such a way that we are able to find a time in a corner of our house where we can sit properly and can hear and chant, right? So Prabhupada is asking here that one should hear submissively, one should not be in a challenging mood, and one has to develop a culture in our wherever you are, where we can gradually hear and chant the Krishna's name, right? So this is 3.9.1, the verse which we are discussing, right? It glorifies the hearing, and it's also talk about mercy and other things. But also Bhagavatam has so many examples and so many pastimes which glorify this verse. One of the pastimes which I can think of is the pastime of Narad Muni. I think a couple of months ago I talked about this pastime, where the journey of Narad Muni, right? Where what we saw, right? Narad Muni was a young boy, right? He met the Bhaktivedantis, and when he met the Bhaktivedantis, what he did, he heard from them. How did he heard from Bhaktivedanti? Not in a mood of challenging way, but in a submissive way. He heard, and when he heard the Bhaktivedantis in a submissive way, he was able to see Krishna in his heart. When the difficult time come upon, when Naradji's mother passed away because of the snake bite, still he was able to keep himself composed. And when he was going around on a different tirtha places, right? And finally, one day he was able to see Krishna in his heart, right? And there was one very beautiful verse which is in the same chapter 1:6-25. It is like this: Eta gupto pararama tanmaya bhutam namo lingam lingamishvara aham cha tasmai mahatam mahiyase shirshavanamam pidate nukam pita. Right? This is very wonderful verse. If you read on the slides, the translation, it is a time when Krishna appeared in the heart of Narad Muni. That time this verse comes. And what it says, then that supreme authority, right, personified by the sound, unseen by the eyes, right? So again, it is the personification by the sound, or the word what we saw is Srutekshuta, right? So it is personification in the heart, right? But the most wonderfully, Krishna stopped speaking, and after that, what happened? Narad Muni felt the sense of gratitude. Why he felt the sense of gratitude? Because he was thanking Krishna, that Krishna, all these years I engaged into the bona fide hearing. Now you finally appeared in my heart, right? So after once he saw that, then he engaged himself. Okay, Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. Please, I'm very much thankful to you for that, right? From this point, we should understand that even a devotee, right? Devotee should develop a mood of gratitude, right? Always. That is one of the very good. We says that is one of the very important quality of a devotee, right? They always should be grateful, right? We all are sitting here. Somewhere or sometime in our life, someone introduced Krishna consciousness in our life, right? So we should be always thankful to them because they ultimately connected us with Krishna, right? And Prabhupada also further explained in this same verse in the purport. What did he talk about? He said that the personality of Godhead was not seen but only heard does not make any difference, right? As we chanting of Krishna's name and meeting Krishna in person, there is no difference, right? Prabhupada here quantifying that same statement. The personality of Godhead produced the four Vedas by his breathing, and he is seen and realized through the transcendental sounds of Veda. Similarly, Bhagavad Gita is a sound representation of the Lord, and there is no difference in identity. again he's pointing out there is no difference between the word of the way Krishna and then Krishna himself. The conclusion is that Lord can be seen and heard by persistent chanting of the transcendental sound. Right? One of the important point here is that we have to engage ourselves into the persistent hearing, right? Persistent means uninterrupted, right? We said uninterrupted, unmotivated devotional service. That's a definition of bhakti, right? It should be uninterrupted, without any break, right? I always remember that we have a devotee within our congregation who are continuously engaged in the service for so many years. I remember so many years ago in early morning, I'm part of this congregation for the last 12 years, and so many years ago when I come in a Sunday morning, early morning, I see Vrindavan Chandra Prabhu sitting right there on the chair, and then he will be reading Bhagavatam. Whether someone is here or not, he will read it every single day, uninterrupted. And few months ago when I was here in the morning, Vrindavan Chandra Prabhu was there. Whether someone is here. So, uninterrupted means you are not dependent on anyone. Whether someone is there or not, that is your time with Krishna. And you engage yourself in a bona fide hearing from the devotee or bona fide chanting. Right? There is one similar verse which is given in this regard, which is also very in the similar line. Is this one, which is from the Srimad Bhagavatam's 285, which says, Pravista Karnanarandrena Shravana Bhava Saroruha Duknoti Samalam Krishna Shalisya Yatasarata. This verse, right, the last word which is in this verse, which is called Sarata. Sarata is the season of autumn, right? Season of autumn, if someone is from India, grew up in India, what they will see? They will see that the rain just started, right? And then because of the rain, there will be muddy water, right? Muddy water. And when the first time rain comes, right, then it mixes with the muddy water, and then it creates a very nice fragrance in the air, right? And when the farmers, particularly, if you go to rural India and the farmers, they become enchanted with the smell. Why? Because it will fill their heart. Now the rain is here, that they can have a nice nice crop and everything. So it will fill their heart with the happiness. Same way, it says in this verse, Pravishta Karna Randrena means the name of the Lord which enters. Karna Randrena means through the ear hole, right? When it entered through the ear hole into the heart of the devotee, then what will happen? Krishna sits onto the lotus flower of your heart, right? And what it says? That Krishna sits on the lotus flower of his loving devotional relationship with the devotee, right? So what is a lotus flower? This verse defines that lotus flower where Krishna sits is the loving relationship between the devotee and the Lord. Okay? And what depends of that loving relationship? Prabhupada further explained in the purport of this verse that the extent to which devotee is persistent in the devotional sadhana, accordingly, the loving relationship with the Krishna is strong, right? So persistent is very important, right? And therefore, if you read the beginning into the purport where Prabhupada quotes the verse 4:11, Ye Yathama Prapadyante. Why? It means that accordingly, right? Krishna says that you surrender unto me, accordingly I will reciprocate. The level of your surrender, accordingly Krishna reciprocate, right? So our level of surrender and the persistence in sadhana, Krishna, our relationship with Krishna becomes strong, right? And our relationship with Krishna should be, Prabhupada explained in the purport, he said it should be loving, it should be submissive, it should be persistent, it should be anxious. Anxious is, they are always desiring for Krishna, not anxious like a material anxious. Spiritually also, being anxious is not wrong, right? We said that Vaikuntha means that whenever Krishna, Vaikuntha means there is no miseries. So whenever a devotee, even anxious for Krishna, there is no misery for them, right? So one should be anxious, always desiring to see Krishna. And accordingly, your lotus flower of your relationship with Krishna will be blossom. And Krishna will be sitting on that. When Krishna entered into here and when he entered into heart, then what happened? The same verse explained. It will be Dugnoti Samalam Krishna. What will happen? It will going to clear the dust of material association. Right? And if we recall, if we see that where does the dust accumulate? Right? If you clean this floor, if you clean this floor in the center, there won't be, we clean the center, but the dust is always in the corner, right? Dust is always on the corner. So we have to, right, in the corner, if the devotee deep down inside, right, what is in the corner of our heart? You know, all the criticism, name, fame, all those anarthas, they are sitting in our corner. And my Guru Maharaj says that Krishna is a very magical and interesting guest. When he entered into the heart of a devotee, what is that? He used a transcendental vacuum. And then what he do? He do all the cleaning of the corner. Because you need a very good suction, right? To clean the corner, you need to have a very good vacuum. Right? So when he take out all those anarthas from your heart. And it is also, we need to understand one important point is that devotee need not to do anything. He has to just sit. Because who is doing all the job? It's a Krishna. It's a Krishna who is entering into your heart and doing all the cleaning process. It's not the devotee, right? It's just a Krishna. Because he is a Bhaktavatsala. He is so much surrendered to his bona fide devotee that he enter into the heart and then do all the cleaning process. And it will remove all the dust of material association. Prabhupada also explained in the purport that what are the dust of material association? It is a law. It's a lust, anger, and hankering, right? It's a lust, anger, and hankering. He removed that from the heart of the devotee, right? And then what happened, right? So if the Krishna, right, many people say that Krishna is already in the heart, right, as a super soul, right? Then is always present. Then what is the difference, right? It being a present in the heart and being a seated in the heart, there is some difference there, right? We have to deep down inside that really we receive the Krishna. Did we really honor the Krishna in our heart? You know, I give very mundane example that you are at your home, right, sitting in your living room, and someone ring the bell. You go open the door, and you will see our president-elect right at your doorstep, Donald Trump. Okay, and then you just bang the door on face of it, right? Maybe you are Democrat. I don't know. Okay, so really, did we receive well a guest at our home? So we are doing the same, right? When we are away from Krishna, we are just ignored Krishna. We did not. Krishna is there in our heart, but we are totally ignorant about Krishna. We have to question ourselves that did we really receive Krishna in our heart, right? So that's one of the very important point here. Another thing, which is after next verse 285, there is another verse which Krishna explains in this word 286, right? Where if you read the second line, which is the Pada Mula Namuchyate, which means that the pure devotee of the Krishna, they never leave the lotus feet of the Krishna, right? In any situation, right? Because they have, like here the example of the Vibhishanji is given, right? I took up an example of Vibhishanji where he engaged himself into the bona fide hearing process. He was constantly remembering the Lord Ram in his heart, right? So Lord seated in his heart, and in any situation, whether his brother was not happy with it, in any situation, he was continuously remembering Krishna, and he never left the lotus feet of the Lord Ram. In a Bhagavatam is filled with the different devotee. Whether you take an example of the Dhruva Maharaj, you take the example of the Prahlad Maharaj, they have been put in so much difficulty, but in any given situation, they never leave their feet. So one important point is that even if we continuously associate ourselves with the pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada, right? It will, because they are continuously engaged into the service of the Lord, we and our bhakti will be secure, right? And we can continue. Another important point here in this verse, which is a Bhakti Yoga Paribhavita, right? It's in the verse, which means Brahmaji is telling that pure bhakti involves a complete or 100% absorption in devotional service, right? Brahmaji built his lotus flower of a loving devotional service with the Lord on a 100% absorption, right? There was no 99, 98%, it's a 100% absorption to the loving service of the Krishna, right? Here, I would like to quote one beautiful pastime from the Chaitanya Leela, where there was a story of an illiterate Brahmana, right? Illiterate Brahmana has been advised or instructed by his guru to continuously study the Bhagavad Gita, right? But he was illiterate. He cannot study Bhagavad Gita. So he was sitting there looking at the Bhagavad Gita and he was started crying, right? So all the people passing by, they just make a fun out of him. That news reached to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, right? Mahaprabhu, he heard about him. Then he visited the Brahmana and he asked the Brahmana, why are you crying? The Brahmana said that I'm illiterate, I cannot read this Bhagavad Gita. But whenever I think about Krishna as a Pathsarathy, that he is a supreme personality of Godhead, but he's accepted very lower position as a menial servitor of his devotee, and he is becoming a charioteer. Whenever I think of it, the tears are flowing from my eyes. Right? So, Mahaprabhu said that whether you know this Bhagavad Gita or not, but you actually understood. You actually understood the gist of Bhagavad Gita, and then he embraced the devotee. So the point here is that the sincere devotee who follow the bona fide process, right, they can perfect their life, and they can finally, at the end of the life, they can see Krishna, regardless of what qualification they may have, right? Because that process of bhakti work for everyone, right? Bhagavatam has many examples. Whether you are an animal body or whether you are a human body, that process work equally for everyone. Another important point which is there in this verse, right? There are many good points in this verse, and probably I'll try to wrap up in next 10 minutes. Another important point in this verse is the Krishna's mercy, right? If I read through the translation, what we read into the third slide, which was, it says that you manifest yourself in a particular eternal form in which you always think of you, right? So Krishna here becoming a very subordinate position. What kind of subordinate position? He said that Krishna says, whatever form you desire, I'll appear. Once you engage yourself in this bona fide process, and when I enter into your heart, right? If you take an example of Bhismadev, right? Bhismadev always think of Krishna as a Vishnu, right? So he appeared in his heart as the four forms of Krishna. Also, there is one more example in Chaitanya Charitamrita, where the Murari Gupta, he was so much affectionated to Lord Ram, but Mahaprabhu asked him to engage himself into the chanting of Lord Krishna's name. And the day he was sleeping in the night, he was feeling so bad because Mahaprabhu instructed, he could not able to follow the instruction. Next day he met Mahaprabhu, and he said that Mahaprabhu, give me forgiveness, because whatever you have advised me, I could not able to follow, because my heart and mind is so much attached with Lord Ram. Then Mahaprabhu said, don't worry, you continue to do so. That would please me, right? So if devotee engage into this bona fide process of hearing, Krishna makes sure, and Krishna take a very subordinate positions, and then he accept the devotee. He appear into the heart of devotee, right? Also, another point which I want to point it out, that the mercy, right, has a two component. Maybe we'll further talk about it a little bit. The mercy is a two component, which is the compassion and kindness, right? My Guru Maharaj says mercy's definition he defined as a compassion or forgiveness which is shown to someone when it is within your power not to give it to them. It means that it is within your power, but maybe for any reason you don't want to give it to them, right? Radhanath Maharaj also, he also gave a very good definition of mercy. What he says, that to get that which you do not deserve. Right? So here, if you see this verse where Brahmaji talk about the causeless mercy of Krishna, where Brahmaji is kind of shining through his humility, right? And he's acknowledging the causeless mercy of Krishna. And because of this mercy, Brahmaji is telling that Krishna, you finally appeared in front of me. Because if you see the Bhagavatam, Brahmaji did the tapasya for so many years, so many celestial years. And finally, after that, Krishna appeared in front of them. Before that, he has no clue how to do the material expansion. One of the very important point, or very similar point, which is also given of the subordinate to the desire of the devotee, is by the Chitraketu Maharaj, 6:16:34. Right here, Krishna is being called as a O conquerable Lord. Right, Krishna is not just in a purport. We saw that Krishna is the order supplier of the devotee, but he is not just an ordinary order supplier. Right, Krishna, because Krishna is unconquerable. Right, and what does he do? He said, although you cannot be conquered by anyone, you are certainly conquered by devotee who have a control of a mind and senses. These are one of the important qualities, right? The devotee who can control their mind and senses, right? Krishna appeared in their heart. In the same purport, in the same translation, Prabhupada also explained that the devotee desire no profit, right? Krishna's devotees' transactions with Krishna or dealing with Krishna is a non-transactional. Right? It's a one-way. They engage into the service of Krishna without any expectation, right? Unmotivated devotional service. And by doing so, what happened? Krishna, he take the full control of a devotee. So if you see the Mahabharata, right? Pandavas, they were very good devotee of the Krishna. So Krishna took a personal charge of the Pandavas. Every situation, Krishna is always there with them. That's why Kunti Maharani prayed to Krishna that Krishna, all the problems we have, and then you are always around, right? Because Krishna take the personal charge of his pure devotee. In the same line, there is one beautiful verse. Again, it will glorify the Krishna's nature of he is being very subordinate to his devotee. This verse, it says, I will just skip this chanting because we have very less time. But the main point here is explained that it's in the first canto, 16 verse, right? So it's by the Parikshit Maharaj. You know, Parikshit Maharaj was going around, and then he heard about Krishna. What did he heard? That he heard that Krishna engaged into different very malice or very low level service to the Pandavas. What kind of services? Which has been mentioned here, which said that he became a Sarathya, is a chariot driver. Second one, which explained in this verse, is he's become the president of the Rajasuya Yajna. Now, think about it. That being a president of a Rajasuya Yajna, it's not a big deal for Krishna. He is a supreme personality of the Godhead, right? Krishna is all this universe emanates from him. For him, being a president of some Rajasuya Yajna is not a big deal. But he accepted that position as a service to Yudhishthira Maharaj. He accepted this position as a service to Pandavas. Second point is the Dautya, is a messenger, right? Krishna went to the Sabha of Kaurava as his messenger. Another point is the Sakya, right? If you see the first canto where the Arjuna is talking about Krishna going back, then he was remembering Krishna. That he's telling that Krishna, I see the maid servant around and I said, Krishna, can I marry you? So Krishna actually bring down to so low level to reciprocate with his devotee as a Sakya, right? Another point is a Virasana or a night watchman. Means Krishna into the battlefield in the night. Krishna is standing just right outside the tent of the Pandavas. And what he's doing? If you read the translation, he said his sword is not put there, but he said he's holding the sword in his hand, and then he's guarding the tent of Pandava. Such a low service. He accepted all this service because Pandavas were always ready to hear Krishna. And then the Pandavas were always very much malleable to the will of the Krishna. They were malleable to the will of the Krishna, therefore Krishna was pliable to the will of the Krishna. As I explained in the purport, Prabhupada used the word pliable. Because the devotees is malleable, therefore Krishna is pliable, right? By his sincere devotional service, a devotee conquered Krishna. And the Krishna, what does he do? Krishna engaged into the service of the devotee, right? So that would come to us to the conclusion, right? Conclusion is that when devotee engaged into this process of hearing, what happened ultimately? Ultimately, our aim of this devotional process is the Krishna Prema, right? And achieving this Krishna Prema, there is no impediment into achieving this Krishna Prema. If you go through the Prahlad Maharaj chapter, right, 7th canto, 6th verse, and the 19th verse, where Prahlad Maharaj is talking to his classmates, all his classmates, younger classmates, what Prahlad Maharaj is telling to them. Prahlad Maharaj is telling them that there is no impediment to pleasing Krishna and worshipping him in any condition, right? Whether in any condition devotee is, there is no impediment. But Prabhupada very well pointed out at end of the purport of this 3.9.11 verse, what did he say? He said that there is no impediment, but avoid being a pseudo-devotee. Lord is never visible to a non-devotee. Prabhupada says, in last 3 lines of the purport, Prabhupada says that Krishna is never visible to a pseudo-devotee. And Prabhupada also explained in the beginning of the purport, he said that attainment of the stage of prema, one can attain this only when devotee follow or devotee come out from or follow the process of bhakti. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki jai, Srinath ji ki jai, Gaur Nitai ki jai, Sitaram Lakshman Hanuman ki jai. Here, Krishna Prabhupada explained that attainment of this stage of prema only can be achieved when the devotee follows the process from the faith to the love. And Prabhupada, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, the definition of faith has been explained. What is explained? It says that disinterest in the material affairs and interest in the spiritual advancement. Isn't it? It's very simple, right? Prabhupada says disinterest in the material affairs and interest in a spiritual advancement. That's the definition of faith, or Ado Shraddha. And the process of this devotional service is given by Bhaktivinoda Thakur. And he gives a 9-step, right? Shraddha, Sadhu Sangha, Bhajana Kriya, right? Anartha Nivritti, Nishtha, Ruchi, Asakti, Bhava and Prema, right? If you see the whole process of this bhakti, what is the foundation? And it's applicable to each stage is the hearing, right? Prema stage cannot be achieved, overnight. We cannot reach to the epitome of the devotional service, which is a level of prema. But in the whole process, one thing which remains common is the bona fide hearing. Okay. Jai Shri Prabhupada ki. Yeah. Thank you very much for no question, Prabhu, right?
We had a question? Yeah. Okay.
Oh, so time is up. No question.
Like you said,
Go ahead.
So like if you're not a pure devotee or pseudo devotee, but does that mean those of us who are not pure devotees, like me, I'm just a pseudo devotee?
No, Prabhu. Then we have to follow the definition of the Uttama Adhikari, Kanishta Adhikari. You don't pseudo. Pseudo is the hypocrites. That's how I put it. Hypocrites. There is a difference between a different level of a devotee, which is a Kanishta Adhikari, Uttama Adhikari, but the pseudo devotee who is hypocrite, who pretend to be a devotee, but they are not devotee. Their heart is filled with the anartha, and they are not. They are doing the showy business. They are doing just a showy business of being a devotee. That's my understanding. Prabhu, maybe Madan Gopal Prabhu, you want to add something? Okay, so we will end here. Thank you very much, everyone, for hearing me. Thank you.